Good night. My name is Paulina García Gómez, and today my tutor presentation is talking about what is Australian brass music. For starting, I am going to share my presentation. The idea I had is to ask, what do you think that it's Australian brass music, or what do you think when you hear the name? But as we saw, we have to record ourselves. So in this case, I ask me the question of what is Australian brass music, because as we, as Mexicans, our traditions are listened música ranchera. I don't know. And first, you're welcome to my presentation. The first step is to what is Australian brass music? As I mentioned, I was asking the same question to me. And the first answer that I found in internet, obviously, it was that brass music is more in general to referring the music in Europeans who were colonized Australia. So basically, there are Europeans that were moving to Australia, and they started to practicing Australian brass music. It is in English language, obviously, with the Anglo-Celtic. It is another kind of folk music, and as we saw, folk music is that music that originates the traditions that are popular in cultures, or that is writing in such a style. So this is a little bit about Australian brass music. It was in a straight band music and bluegrass. We can saw that kind of folk music. I saw, or I searched for some examples that are maybe the more common in the area of Australian brass music, and I found some of the recognizable songs from the traditional brass music are Gligo the Shares, Wax Signing Matilda, the Wild Colonial Boy, the Black Velvet Band, and the Drover's Dream. I chose two of these. I listened these 5 songs, but I choose only 2 to share with you, obviously. The first one is the Drover's Dream, and it is very interesting song. I am going to present a short part of this song because I think that it's very clear about the song, and I am going to start saying what I think of this. So, yes.
One night while droving sheep, my companions laid asleep. There wasn't a star to illuminate the sky. I was dreaming, I suppose, for my eyes were partly closed, when a very strange procession passed me by.
As we saw, they talk about a dream that one person is having. So I can imagine that, were not imagine, I am sure that these kind of songs are more like talking about actions or something in the story that we cannot imagine. And for example, in songs that we usually listen, for example, Vicente Fernandez or something like that, they talk about a story of love. Always the songs that are most popular in Mexico are talking about love or breaking hearts. So Um, I noticed that this kind of music or songs talks about a story. They um, tell you a story, are not a story, but for example, an experience. So I'm going to continue with this.
First there came a kangaroo with his swag of blankets blue. A dingo ran beside him as a mate. They were travelling mighty fast, and they shouted as they passed, "We'll have to run along, it's getting late." The pelican and the crane, they came in off the plain to amuse the company with the Highland fling. And the dear old bandicoot played a tune upon his flute, and the native birds sat round him in a ring.
I chose this song, The Dropper's Dream, because of the lyrics. The singer is telling you, as I mentioned, a story about animals. For example, here is mentioned the native bears that sat around him arrived. So it is a little bit maybe curious because we don't know many things about the animals that he's mentioned. Sorry.
The broger and the crow sang us songs of long ago. The frill-necked lizard listened with a smile, and the emu standing near with his claw up to his ear said, "That's the funniest thing I've heard in quite a while." Frogs from out of the swamp, where the atmosphere is damp, came bounding in and sat upon some stones. They all unrolled their swags and they produced from little bags the violin, the banjo and the bones. The goanna and the snake and the adder wide awake, with an alligator danced the soldier's joy. In the spreading silky oak, the jackass cracked the joke, and the magpie sang the wild colonial boy.
Well, the song is repeating the same. We're not at the end. The other song that I choose is the Irish Robbers, Will Canoia Boy. This song is this song is telling a story. So let's go to listen a short part.
There was a wild colonial boy, Jack Duggan was his name. He was born and reared in Ireland, in a place called Castlemaine. He was his father's only son, his mother's pride and joy. And dearly did his parents love the wild colonial boy. At the early age of 16 years, he left his native home, and to Australia's sunny shores
And as we could see in this song, we're more about a person. The story is very maybe funny because we don't know the context, or the narrator is telling you or telling us a story, but we don't know certainly the mm, the story correctly. So um, it was a the sorry, I am searching. For example, I get some ideas of these songs that are the this kind of songs is more well, when I start to listen, I only focus on the sound of the guitar and the flute. So it was maybe a little bit confused because usually when we heard a music or a song, we can hear maybe all kind of instruments, but in these songs, I only focus on the sound of the guitar and the flute. So it was very interesting, and I was very um, curious. It could say curious. I could say curious because it was, as I mentioned, it was rarely because I don't usually listen music like this. But yes, it was music involved of the with the Australian, and because of the music of the Europeans who colonized Australia. So when I start to hearing this, it was like okay, I can say that the Europeans colonized Australia, and for that reason, Europeans start to listen these songs. So it was a little bit. It was a very good new knowledge that I get from this presentation. Uh, the songs that I put were very different because, as I mentioned, one was telling you a story, and the other one was telling you or was describing the kind of animals that maybe exist in Australia. So yes, it was all for my presentation of today, and thank you for listen and see.